Great.
I'm at the screen that says dial in now. Is that where I should be?
Well, we have your voice, so we may not need to. The dial-up might be. You may have already accomplished that. I would say as long as you can see my screen, then we should be good to go.
Yeah, that's the screen I'm looking at now. The one that says dial in now. Dial in now.
Just you need to click on OK and I'll send for.
I thought that was the him that said that. Oh, maybe not. Oh, hold on just a minute.
Okay. So let me start with the purpose of the meeting, and I'll start with an introduction. My name is Mark L. I'm with Alpha Capital Management Group. I'm a financial advisor that focuses solely on 401k plans. And our topic of today is to talk about enrollment. And the reason why enrollment's an issue is because you have met eligibility and you're now able to start deferring into your 401k via your payroll contributions. Did we have another individual just join us?
Yes.
Oh, and who's this?
Marty.
Oh, hi, Marty. I was just started with an introduction, and we've also got Chuck, Joan, and David on the line as well.
Hello, everybody.
Yep. So you haven't missed anything, and so my goal as your financial advisor is to be available and accessible to you at any point from today moving forward to give you help, guidance, and consultation regarding anything certainly around your 401k investments, but even if you've got circumstances that are anything financial, I'm still fair game, and you'll have access to my cell phone, my email, my desk line, and it's very common for me to get calls from individuals. And what I can do is look up your 401k to see how it's invested, and then we can talk over the phone to see if we're set up properly and you're invested the right way by nature of a personal phone call. So that's my service model. I also am going to be working with Chuck at the company level to make sure that the plan is all in compliance and doing everything it's supposed to be doing, because it is a government style of a program, because it's filed with the IRS and there's lots of different rules and things of that nature that he and I will work with to make sure that we're above board on the way the plan is run itself at the company level. So that's my goal and my job. Again, specifically, we're going to talk about enrollment today. And before we dive into even the specifics of what is needed back, I always like to talk about the importance of the 401k as it relates to your retirement. And we as a nation typically have done maybe not so good about how we have been saving for retirement. It's we typically kind of live in a society where when we do earn paychecks and we put money in our bank account, we do find a way to spend it all the way down to zero and even below zero if we start borrowing and using credit cards and things of that nature. So as your financial coach, and I specifically use that word, I'm here to kind of give you my pulpit presentation as to why it's important to save for your 401k plan and create a call to action on your part if there's needing a behavioral change in the way you would budget your month-to-month expenses, to really take a close look at that and make sure that at any rate of pay that you would ever make in your career, there's always going to be room for you to save money. And I know as difficult as that is to hear, the reason why it's important is because we as an American society, we're living longer. In fact, it's not uncommon for a person to live to 85 to 87 years old anymore with all of the medical enhancements and things that we do to live longer. So what happens, you've got 20 years in retirement, which there's no paychecks coming in. You know, some of you may work a little bit longer till maybe age 70 if you're still healthy, but a lot of times medical issues will complicate your ability to work, and you end up, having to rely on what you've saved for retirement to be able to, put food on the table and cover expenses. And so for that 20 year, yeah, huh?
We have mandatory retirement at 90, age 90.
At age 90. Well, whatever vitamins you're taking, I want some of those.
I say it because one of my Sam Corso's in here with us too, and how old are you, Sam? 72? 70. Okay.
That's awesome. My mother is will be 80 this coming summer, and she's still working pretty much full time, and I think that's awesome because if you're able and you can and you love it and you like it, then more power. I think that's an outstanding way to keep mentally engaged and stay active and keep moving. Many of you probably have stories of people that have retired, and it's sometimes people can get sick, or they end up needing medical care sooner than later. But if you keep moving, I'm a big advocate for that. So it is important to save, and it starts with your call to action. I can coach you to make deferrals into your 401k plan, and it's never very exciting from the onset. When that first $20 or first $50 or whatever rate of saving that you're going to save, whenever that happens, it doesn't get exciting until after time. And of course, it sounds to me like some of you have lesser years of work history remaining, but for anybody that's in the room that's got time, that would be that's something you have to your advantage is time. So with that being said, are there any questions at all that one would have regarding how much do I need for retirement? How much is it going to cost me to live in retirement? Anything that would be general questions regarding the need for 401k savings?
No.
Okay.
If there are any questions about how much we're going to need for retirement, or because fund retirement, I think we all know that most of us here.
Yeah, I'm not sure that everyone's done the math on that yet. There's a bunch of calculators out there to help you work through that, but everything changes.
Yeah. I think the best answer I can give to you is something that you can take with you as we work with people that are nearing retirement, or at least planning this retirement conversation. The best way to calculate your retirement expenses is to try to achieve 80% of your income at point of retirement. So in other words, if you make $50,000 a year and you're 64, and then when you turn 65 and those paychecks stop and you want to retire, you need 80% of that $50,000 in order to maintain your lifestyle. So 80% of 50,000 would be 40,000. So $40,000 is statistically what you'll need in retirement, and you will draw your $40,000 from three sources: typically Social Security, your retirement plans, including your 401k and IRAs, and then your savings bucket, any sort of monies that you've stuck away in after-tax investment accounts. Those are the three buckets of money that will accumulate to draw from to get to this 80%, or in my math example, this $40,000 figure. So this 80% rule is something that you can take with you to, it's not necessarily about hitting an exact number. It's almost better to think of it as a percent. And that's something that you can use for planning. So hopefully that was helpful. A question for you, Chuck, is regarding enrollment. We have either a 3-page PDF paper form that can be filled out, or I can concentrate and explain the online enrollment process. What would you prefer?
Why don't we work on the online? Because I like for people to get used to going online to do whatever they need to do.
Okay. All right. That's perfect. So this PDF was in fact, Chuck, I should ask you yet another question, and that is when Ian emailed out the keep these forms handy, wasn't sure if you had a chance to forward those on to Marty, David, and Joan, or if that's still something that you can do after the meeting.
I understood from the email that I was supposed to give that to them after the meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, and I think I remember stating that. So you're going to get an email following this meeting that's going to have the instructions for online enrollment. Now, I'm on page 2 of one of these PDFs that you'll get, and there's very, very complete instructions on how to enroll in your 401k plan and create your entity. As you can see on this screen, you can see the password is set up as a predefined CORTENT. Once you've crossed that path, you're going to.
Mark, Right now, all I see, right now we're on the screen that just says 401k enrollment meeting.
Okay. Let me see if I've got to. Okay, there we go. That's been my fault all along here. But the good news is I think I got it straightened up here.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, excellent. So the temporary password is what you see on screen, and it's going to allow you to get to the next page of which you'll create your own username and password. And I'm going to flip down to several pages lower here, so bear with me. This is going to be the screen that you'll see to enter your username and password in once you get past that initial phase. And it's going to take you through a series of questions that will allow you to go through a complete online enrollment process from A to Z. And it'll even give you a progress bar from 0 to 100% once you're done. So
we were just wondering Charlie, you in your office here.
I'm sorry, one more time?
Charlie, Matthew just came in. He's attending the meeting.
Perfect. All right. Hey, Matthew. Okay, so this is the enrollment page, and it's going to take you through a series of questions. It's certainly going to ask you to set up a username and a password. That's what we see here, and you can notice there's 0% complete on the progress bar. Then it'll ask you for your beneficiary information, and that's going to be someone that you designate as an individual that if you were to pass away, where your 401k balances will be transferred to. And you can name primary and contingent beneficiaries as well. And it's always changeable. So if you log in tomorrow and want to change your beneficiary, that's fine. Nothing's ever locked in stone. This is a screen here where it says source of money. Maybe it's kind of small to see on your side, but you would want to pick all sources, the blue box that's highlighted. And now that we're 66% complete, basically it's going to confirm all of your information. And then the very last step is to select investment choices. So maybe to backtrack a little bit, there's 4 primary questions that you'll ask yourself in the 401k plan. 1, do I want to participate or not? So that's a yes or no. If the answer is no, you still need to complete this enrollment process, and there's a spot for you to waive your option to participate at this time. It's a waiver form as well as an enrollment form. So that's the first question. The second question is the how much question. And in your case, you have the ability to defer right from your paycheck into your 401k plan, which makes savings very, very simple and easy. And I'll share some numbers. The national average for 401k percentages across the U.S. is 8%. Not suggesting that that's where you need to start, but I would start at some level. Maybe it's 3 or 4 or 5%. I would recommend as a financial advisor that your goal would be 10%. And that's going to be statistically the savings rate in your 401k plan that's going to allow you to achieve your retirement goals and live that lifestyle that you were hoping for, is 10%. Some advice here is if you start at 5%, and which is obviously less than 10, some people will raise that by 1% each year for the next 5 years until you've gotten to that 10. And sometimes it's a good strategy to just bite off in bits and pieces over time to make sure that at some point you are saving at a 10% level. So that is the second question. The third one is a little bit more difficult to explain. The normal 401k contribution from you is going to be pre-tax, which means that you're not going to be taxed on that money going into your 401k plan. And that's an advantage to you that the IRS gives to you to make sure that you can save money for retirement without it affecting your net take-home pay all so much. Now, an example of that pre-tax contribution, let's just say your earnings were $100 and you decided to save 10%. That would be $10 coming from your paycheck. So Uncle Sam is only going to tax your paycheck on $90 in earnings, not $100. And so therefore your check is not going to drop by $10. It might only drop by $8. And so that's the reason why there's this pre-tax eligibility to put money into your 401k plan. But there is a catch, and the catch is this. When you retire, all of those monies in your 401k plan that have not been taxed will get taxed on the way out when you take money from your 401k plan at retirement. So that's one thing to always remember, that you will have to pay tax. In this particular case, it's just on the when you take distributions. So there is a provision where you can pay the tax up front, and we call that Roth. Many of you have heard of Roth, such as Roth IRA or Roth 401k. All that means is that you're going to take this very same 401k plan and you're going to pay tax on the dollars before they go into your 401k account. And so that's an option that you have, and this online process will help you through that decision-making point on whether to do pre-tax or Roth. Now, the nice thing with Roth is that since you covered your tax bill up front and you're putting in after-tax dollars, when you do retire and pull money out, it's all yours because you've paid the tax up front. So they're both very much inverse of each other. The Uncle Sam is going to get their tax dollars. It's just whether or not you want to do it right away or wait till you retire and defer it till later. So does that make sense in explaining the difference between pre-tax and Roth?
On the Roth, there's no tax on what you put into it, but are you taxed on the interest you make on the investment?
The answer is no, which is a really nice advantage in my professional opinion about why the Roth would be a benefit. So if you're in a low tax bracket today, and we don't know what tax rates are going to be in the future, I'm under the opinion that I'm going to pay, by use of Roth, I'm going to put after-tax dollars in my 401k account, because whatever amount I accumulate, including the investment gains and earnings, comes out tax-free. So there is a real...
If you look at dollar to dollar, you would be putting a smaller amount in annualized, as far as those annualized gains. I mean, so what you're saying is, just from your experience, you think you're better off going the Roth route? I mean,
the answer in most calculations and samples, there is more of an advantage typically for younger individuals, and this is just a your career at age 21 all the way to age roughly about 45. Statistically, Roth is going to be a better outcome for you financially than pre-tax. If you're over 45, typically the pre-tax is going to be your best bet.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
Okay. The last question that's going to be in your 401k plan is how you want to invest your money. And now all 401k plans are built with mutual fund investment choices to pick from. Whatever you decide to invest your dollars in and how you want to deploy those monies, you can always change them. The 401k is such a nice product that you can go in whenever you wish without any sort of time restrictions and change your investment allocations without any sort of penalty or price. There's no cost to doing so. And so whatever we start with here with your investment choices, don't feel deer in the headlights that I feel like I made a bad choice. I'm stuck with it. That's not the case at all. You can always change your investments. You can always change your contribution rates, your beneficiaries, your Roth versus pre-tax. All of this is changeable at any time for you. So keep that in mind when you go through this enrollment process. So with this in mind, what I'm showing on your screen right now is something that I, as a financial advisor, am going to help you with. This is a guide that I'm going to produce and send to Chuck every quarter. The very next one is going to be coming out in about mid-October. The one that you're looking at now is mid-July. And this is a list of all of the 401k mutual fund choices that you have in your 401k plan. And what we've done is we've constructed 5 different models from conservative to aggressive, and we've spelled out mathematically how we would use or how we would deploy your money into the 401k plan. So in the example of what I used before, if you were to, I'll just actually bump up the $100 scenario to 1,000 just to make it a little bit more easy to explain. With 10% savings, you would have $100 going into your 401k. Say by example, you wanted to be a moderate investor. Then $4 or 4% of that $100 would go into that top DFA emerging markets core equity mutual fund, and so forth all the way down the line until we reach 100%, or all $100 is then deployed amongst those 10 or 15 mutual funds. So that what we're doing and trying to accomplish is to create a diversified array of investments so that you're well deployed in the economy and not having all of your eggs in one basket. Sometimes we hear that scenario. So this is our quarterly self-help. October, January, April, and July. We'll send this to Chuck so that he can then forward it on to you. You're welcome to use this guide, and it's certainly there electively. You can choose your own investments if you wish. You're welcome to do whatever. But for those people that are having some difficulty in picking investments, we wanted to offer this up to you to help you out. So any questions on this particular guide so far? One thing I want to explain that's very, very popular. Notice I didn't talk about the bottom part of this chart, which I'm going to pull it up here a little higher so you can see it. It's these Vanguard target date funds. I'll blow it up a little bit. And these are a very, very popular choice. So by example, the top half is very much a hands-on, quarter by quarter. I'm going to follow Mark's advice and go into my account, and once I log in, I can change all these investments around. That is something that you would have to do, by the way. It's not going to happen automatically if you follow the guide, because I, as an advisor, don't have the ability to change your investments in your account. They are participant directed. So when you do get this guide, there is a call to action on your part if you wanted to use that top half to rekey the numbers in and hit submit for those changes to be affected. So if that's a little bit too much work and a little bit overkill for what you're looking for, these target retirement funds will make a lot of sense for you. And they're designed to be on cruise control, autopilot, someone do it for me approach. In fact, I can tell you statistically that about 7 out of every $10 going into 401k plans in the U.S. are flowing into these target date style of products. And how they are built to run for you is you would pick one target date fund, and the one that you would pick would be the vintage year of which you would reach age 65. So if you reach age 65 in the year 2035, you would then go 100% of all my contributions from my 401k plan into that target date fund. And they are, again, designed to be automatic. They're built very aggressively invested when you're younger, and there's a glide path that automatically tiers the glide path to a more conservative approach the closer you get towards retirement. So again, aggressive when you're younger, more conservative when you're closer to retirement. And so that's how they're built, to be a one-stop shop mutual fund without having to make any changes for long periods of time. So does that help explain at all, maybe some help on the investment choices in your 401k plan?
Yeah.
Okay, so the topics are complete. We talked about the enrollment process. The online version that's shown up here on screen is something that you will have this PDF from Chuck. Once this meeting is over, you'll be able to walk yourself through that. From a timeline perspective, I would say, since it's Friday today, if you need to speak with some individuals, a spouse, for instance, I would say Monday or Tuesday would be a good target deadline to get all of this done and in. Because our goal is when we process the first pay period in October, that it's already going to be into effect. So whatever percentage of deferral that you decide to pick, whether it's 3%, 5%, 10%, or even a specified dollar amount. Some of you may want to say, I don't want 5%. I'd rather have $50, or you can designate that as well. into a specific dollar amount if that's easier for you. And that is going to be something Chuck will need to know so that he can set up the payroll software, so that the payroll software knows how much to withhold from your payroll. So that's how that process works. And again, in order to get all this done so that that first pay period in October can be affected, it would be best to have this online enrollment process done within the next, 3 to 5 working days.
Okay. Hey, Mark, where would the where would participants go to find the performance of the fund? Of the individual funds?
Yep. So this particular PDF is also one that we shared with you yesterday, Chuck, that can be forwarded out, and it's labeled the PDF enrollment book. And the document itself is 56 pages long. And I would really be careful before you hit the print button, because it is a PDF and you can have it electronically, but just know if you hit print, you're going to get a lot of paper coming out. So in this document itself, it'll go and have all of this investment from pages 12 through 56. It's going to have all of the mutual fund data from the funds available in your 401k. But even more important than that is, because this paper copy was printed at a specific date and time, you're going to get more accurate and up-to-date information on your website. So when you do log in with your username and password, you're always going to get more up-to-date information on your website of all the mutual fund choices, as it's going to be updated daily, as opposed to, say, once a quarter, or however old this information is on this particular paper form that you're looking at. So, it's a very easy process on the website to get investment information.
Okay.
This is David. Quick question. Did you craft the portfolio funds that we looked at specifically for RBCS from a larger?
Yeah, these are our recommendations as your financial advisors. So here's, and I'll answer that probably more in the weeds, but I think it's helpful for your understanding. So my role is to monitor all of these investment choices in the 401k plan at the company level to make sure that these are all top quartile investment performers in all of their different asset classes. And I have software that I use on my systems that are only available to advisors. It's incredibly expensive, but I can filter through 16,000 mutual funds every quarter. And what's in your 401k plan are the best performing mutual funds that are available on the market. And they're also institutional share class, meaning that they are the lowest expense ratios and they have zero kickback funds built into them. There's no 12B1 fees and no sub-transfer agency fees. These are all stripped down from a standpoint of being institutional and what we call zero revenue. There's no kickbacks that go to anybody, not even myself. And so these are the best mutual funds that are out there. And by virtue of the software that we run and the calculations that we do, we put this asset allocation model together because we feel by overweighting and underweighting certain asset classes, we're going to put you in front of performance. And that's our primary goal as a financial advisor.
And so you review these quarterly?
Yeah, that is correct. Yep.
Okay.
So every quarter you're going to get a new investment guide, and if you're wanting to follow it, it's again free choice. But then again, the call to action would be you specifically will have to log into your account. There's a box on the top of your screen that says I want to change my investment elections, and then you'll simply rekey the percentage allocations in, which will update your portfolio, if you will, and you'll be set to go.
So, like for instance, the DSEA, just the top emerging market equity fund. If you were recommending a different emerging market core equity fund, it wouldn't automatically switch our investments over. We would have to initiate that. So
the change that you would initiate is if you were, say, an aggressive investor, where right now we're recommending 8%. When we come out with the allocation model in October, we might adjust that down to 6%. So the fund will still remain in there, but we'll resituate those numbers to overweight and underweight our performance model.
Okay.
And that's probably what we'll do, because emerging markets have been, they've been off since the beginning of the year. And even though 8% is not much of an allocation overall, we just know it's going to stay pretty sour for another 6 months. So we'll probably bump that down. Okay. Well, I've taken up quite a bit of your time. I know you've all got work to do today, and I've been thankful to have at least this half hour with you to explain this process. And hopefully it's ongoing. You know, this might be the first conversation of many. I'm always going to be available to help you out, and then certainly Chuck as well at the company level to make sure that, you know, everything's going smoothly as well.
And Mark, when I get back to my office, I'm going to be sending those PDFs that you gave me, sent to me out to everybody. And especially since it seems like some of the folks didn't have time to attend, I'm going to tell them if they have any questions, they could contact you via your email. Is that correct? Is that best?
Yeah, that is correct.